potentially. Twitter, if you wanna.
This is a beach. That means I want Curly in the front. Curly has paper right now.
It is, yes. Twitch.tv. Okay, so I'm joined by Isaac, the American.
Sorry. That just turn my noise off. Yes. Go on.
One of the many Americans. So, what have you been playing this week?
Ultra Moon, I guess. Trying to slog through it.
Yay.
This is my island scan file, so it takes a little while, but I also, like, am at work, so that makes it even slower.
Yeah, I'll do it. I mean, I played Mario Odyssey again.
Yay!
I had
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I wanted to confirm my feelings about that game, and they are indeed true. It is my favourite Mario game.
Nice.
Galaxy has finally been surpassed.
Damn.
It's a nice feeling. Okay, so the past week was quiet, which was nice. I liked the quiet week, without Nintendo suddenly dropping announcements and
Surprise.
Cardboard and Dark Souls.
Cardboard and Dark Souls.
It's the Dark
Nice.
Souls of cardboard.
What the heck? That sounds...
Oh, people have already compared Monster Hunter World to Dark Souls, so, you know, we're just gonna just tell people to stop, I think, at this point.
Alright.
Anyway, I suppose the first thing we should talk about is Anthem, actually.
Is that a new gaming engine I don't
No,
know about?
that's a new game. It was revealed at E3 last year. And it's allegedly, according to a report from Kotaku, being delayed.
Hmm.
Now when I say delayed, I mean pushed back from holiday this year to early 2019. But here's the thing. Apparently, the developer is currently under massive pressure. And the studio is moving most of its staff to Anthem, like moving them away from like the Dragon Age team and stuff to make this one game. And the problem is, Anthem, when everybody saw it, it's like, this is EA's Destiny. This is their Destiny 2. But look at the way Destiny 2 has been received, with the loot boxes and the microtransactions and the DLC and the poor communication. And then look at Battlefront 2, an EA game, same thing. Then look at Need for Speed, an EA game, same thing. And then this game, we can see it from the footage at E3, quite clearly has loot boxes involved. So the developers are probably sat there going, oh shit, gamers are going to react badly to this, like they did to Battlefront and Destiny 2. And it's quite clearly meant to be like Destiny, a game you play for a long time.
Yeah.
So it's like, would this game come out and just be shredded? The answer is probably. But here's the thing, the reason they're moving everybody on and kind of BioWare's kind of probably feeling right now that Anthem is like, this is it. If this goes wrong, we're screwed. And people are saying, wow, everyone's saying that must have a vendetta against EA. And it's like, no, this is a historically proven trend. If your game doesn't meet expectations, EA is there with the knife over your shoulder. Just ready.
No, they were ready.
And one of the BioWare studios has already been closed after Mass Effect Andromeda.
Ooh.
So don't think BioWare's immune. If Anthem doesn't perform well, BioWare's probably gone. I don't like that. But that's the problem being an EA studio. You go to EA, at some point you will die. And you will lose your job.
So why do people do it?
If you could sell your studio and make bank and never have to work again, would you?
I suppose.
And also, if it was the only publisher willing to publish your game.
What the hell? I just frozen stepping onto Lapras. That's
Didn't the game just recently get updated?
1.1. Well, is there a 1.2 patch? I actually don't know.
I think there's something about a patch coming.
I know there's a 1.2 patch coming, but I don't know that. I'm gonna see if I have it, or if I can get it.
So I imagine BioWare developers are quite nervous, shall we say. They don't feel so so enthralled about the prospect of having to work on an EA game. I mean, I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
Personally, because, you know, this is EA. It's like, it will have microtransactions, it will be invasive, it will be monetized to Kingdom Come. They are going to lose probably their jobs. I just think it's not a case of if. It's a case of it's gotta happen. If not Anthem, then the next game. Especially because it's following the Destiny 2 model, and EA doesn't want to learn. But, you know, that's nice. Speaking of death, a lot of things are dying, has been announced this week. Let's see. What's dying this week? Where do we want to start? There are 3 things. Okay, the easy one to discuss is Paragon.
That is...
It's a MOBA from Epic Games. And they announced that anyone who's spent money on it is getting a full refund, and it will be closed in, I think, May? And people are wondering why, and it's like, well, Fortnite happened. You know? They're probably just going to double down on Fortnite now. That's... money. Money, 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 money. That's what's going to happen. But, you know, I assume Paragon was a nice MOBA. That's a highly competitive market, so I don't know if it did well. But Sony was pushing it hard, and now it's dying.
Oh dear.
Which is a shame, but, you know, Epic Games, you know, they make money from Unreal Engine and Fortnite now, so they've got that going for them. Other deaths. Okay, YouTube. It's a sinking ship. It's sinking very quickly. And then Twitch announced that they're doing what is basically the same thing as YouTube now. Similar. So you can upload a video and have it premiere at a certain time. And then it is like live streamed. And then it'll be available as like a video on demand like on YouTube. And the way YouTube's acting, that is a very, very tempting alternative. And I suppose this is what would have happened when Amazon bought Twitch. Is you now have this nice, perfectly viable competitor to YouTube, finally.
Yeah.
There's a vid.me died. Dailymotion exists, I guess. You know, but then there's Twitch, which has always kind of been the live streaming side of things. But now it's starting to get the videos on demand thing. It's like, oh, I'm going to see how it goes. I'm going to assume it's going to end up well because it's got Amazon behind it. So that's a good sign.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, will people leave YouTube for it? To be honest, Twitch is probably just kind of sat there looking over at YouTube saying, how do we get their customers? And then YouTube just does something and it goes, oh, that was easy.
Perhaps, yes.
I mean, I could see Apple making a video platform. It's not going to happen, but they could. I mean, they have TV boxes now.
They do? Oh yeah, they do.
So I can see Apple maybe jumping in on that at some point. But right now it's YouTube, and Twitch is starting to take advantage of YouTube being YouTube. YouTube. Okay, the last thing that's dying this week There's a lot of things that are dying. And I want to look at the exact details of when this particular thing is dying. Because it is. They announced it. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? So on the 9th of May, Miitomo will end.
Right, yeah. You told me about that. How long has it been around?
That's been around since March 2016, I think. But here's the thing, they kept giving it like new content and costumes and stuff. But like, it's not really a game, it's like a social network app.
Yeah.
It came out in March.
Yes.
And killing it off. So you can no longer buy the in-app currency. And then they've got one last Photo event on Twitter, as well as a topic on memories of Miitomo. And then it just kind of faded, to be honest with you. You know, unlike something like Super Mario Run, which is an actual game, or Fire Emblem Heroes, that just will not stop.
Intelligent Systems, what have you done?
And Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, which seems to be doing okay.
He's doing okay, yeah.
It exists. You know, Miitomo just kind of was there for a week, if I'm being generous.
Yeah.
And then it stopped. And like, this is part of the death of Mies, I think. Because there is a dedicated Mii maker on the Switch, but it's part of the system settings.
Ah.
And there is, you know, it's used in Mario Kart 8 and stuff like that. And as your avatar, and that's it. You know, it's not like it was on 3DS and Wii U and Wii, where it was its own app to make Miis. And then there was obviously Miiverse, which is now dead, which was replaced on the Switch with Twitter and Facebook for your photo sharing needs. And now Miitomo is going as well. So I kind of think they're moving away from anything to do with the double I branding.
We would like to play.
With the exception of Amiibo.
Huh. Oh. Huh.
Amiibo are gonna stick around. But like Mii's are just like an avatar thing now. Kind of like the last vessel of the Wii era. Thank God. All the Wii U games that have been ported to the Switch aren't mentioned as being Wii U games first. They're treating them like they're new.
Sorry. Say that last bit again? I lost it.
They're treating them like they're new. Like when they announced Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, they just said it's coming to Switch, and it's like, where was it originally? It's like, we're not saying. It didn't happen. So yeah, this is kind of like the end of it, I suppose.
I suppose so.
It was an experiment, and like any experiment, you know, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And like Nintendo said, it doesn't really matter if our mobile games don't exactly do well, because it's just supplementary income to make more games. And in that regard, I suppose they're working.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mii's are on their way out. Can't say I particularly care, to be honest with you.
Yeah. They're just
there.
They're just there. Yep.
That's it. They just exist. Tell you what though, Miitomo had an absolute wealth of costumes to wear.
Yeah, that was a trip.
Yeah, that's dead. Okay, moving on to positive news, things that aren't dead.
Yay!
So the Game Developer Conference happened, as it does every year. And let me find the news. Game Developers Conference survey. So they poll around 4,000 developers. So they ask like what systems you're currently developing for and stuff like that. And so last year they asked what systems are you currently developing games for, and only 3% said for Switch.
Huh.
This year it's roughly 12% say they're currently making games for Switch. So in the space of a year, it has just imploded.
Yes.
And 15% say they plan to release their next game on the system,
Like it.
which is up from 5% last year.
Oh.
So it's gone from 3% currently making games and 5% wanting to 12 and 15, which is good.
Yes. Yes, it is.
But then 36% listed Switch as the platform they are most interested in creating content for. Xbox One only managed 28%, but the PS4 managed 39% and PC 59%. That's because PC is the easiest to get into.
Right, yeah, that makes sense.
But it's only just behind PS4 in terms of what are we most interested in making games for.
Makes
And
sense.
interesting to note is that 28% of developers said their games sell better on Switch than on other consoles, while 23% said it's sold about the same amount.
Alright then.
And that's with a larger market share of the other consoles.
Yeah, I noticed.
What else did this survey say? 11% of respondents are working on a game with a monetization strategy that uses loot boxes.
No.
PC and mobile are still the most popular platforms, but development is slipping in mobile. So, that's down from last year. Interest in VR is waning. Respondents were asked for the third consecutive year if they believed it could be a sustainable long-term business. 29% of respondents said no, as opposed to past years of roughly 25%.
Interesting.
But it gets more interesting because I do believe there is a notice about how the Switch is now at that 12% saying they're currently making games for Switch. We are now officially above Linux. Ironically enough, the 3DS was at 1%. So
Like this year?
yeah,
I guess it makes sense.
it is in
It's
its.
like-
It will be 7 in March.
Slowly. It's like a very old man at this point.
That's still selling. But yeah, that's nice. It's it just shows an uptake in interest, probably because the system's bloody selling well. But notice how I mentioned it's got more interest than the Xbox One currently from developers. So in Spain, it has been announced, coming on from Switch becoming the fastest selling system ever in 10 months in the US, and, catching up to the PS4 at the lightning pace in Japan, and it hit records in France and Italy as well.
Right.
In 10 months, the Nintendo Switch in Spain has outsold the Xbox One.
Wow.
The
Impressive.
Xbox One had sold 300,000 systems
Yeah.
in Spain, so... I mean, Spain hasn't been particularly Xbox friendly, but even the Vita outsold the Xbox One there, so,
That's kind of tragic.
But, there are various pockets of Europe where Nintendo does very well, like Spain, Italy, France, Germany.
Right.
Well, actually, most of Europe. It's just kind of...
Oh, so Western Europe.
It's just... The UK is that weird... The UK and Spain kind of have the same mindset where if you're buying a Nintendo console, you're like 5. And you get chastised for it, which is a bit weird, but whatever.
Anything about Portugal, or we don't know?
No, this is just Spain.
Alright.
And I mean, I think actually on Monday? Either Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday, Nintendo's earnings calls up from October through December come out, so we find out how much the Switch has sold by the end of December worldwide.
Nice.
I'm still betting, what does my Skype status say? 11.75 million?
I didn't know you put it in your Skype stats, at least. 11.75, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm starting to think we're a bit, we're over that. Because it's at like, I think by the end of December it was like 3 million in Japan, 4.8 8 million in the US. Then we got about 300,000 in Spain. 800,000 in France. Similar numbers in Italy. So I don't know. But, you know, honestly, God, I think maybe by the end of this year it could catch up to the Xbox One globally. Which would be a feat, I suppose. Depends what games come out this year. Depends if the Wii U games, when people actually know they exist, look interesting, I suppose. Okay, so two things. One that's going to make sense to you, and one that's just funny. We'll end on the funny one. So, Xbox Game Pass. So, this is a thing I was aware of that came out like last summer. So, you know how Sony has PlayStation Now? Where you pay, I don't know how much, to stream PS3 games.
I think so.
So Xbox launched this thing called Game Pass, where you pay $10 or $7.99 here, $10 a month, and you get to download, not stream, download, Xbox 360 and Xbox One games. And as long as you're paying that $10 a month, you can play those games for as long as they remain as part of the service.
Okay.
And you have about 100 games to choose from. So you pay $10 a month, there's 100 games.
Alright.
Now, that is an incredible deal. But the thing is, games do get rotated in and out, so if the game leaves the service, it's like Netflix, then it's no longer accessible. You know, it's a nice thing.
Alright.
And then Microsoft announced earlier this week that starting with Sea of Thieves in March, any first-party Microsoft games on the day they launch will also be part of Game Pass. So you then have a choice. You can pay $60 for a physical copy of the game and just order it online or go to a store and buy it. You can download it from Xbox Live and own it that way. Or you can spend $10 a month, get access to all these other games and this new game that costs $60 today.
Yeah, that makes... Yeah, I believe it.
And there are two sides to this. There's the consumer side, which is, oh my god, this is amazing, because this is so, like, from our standpoint, this is amazing. $10 a month, 100 games, including games that have just come out.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Now, the downside is, apparently, those games, those first-party games that come out on launch day for Game Pass, are going to be there indefinitely.
Oh.
So, you know, that's awesome.
That's...
And I can see, from the consumer standpoint...
From a consumer standpoint, that's good. From a developer standpoint, I can see that kind of hurting.
Depends, because it's only first-party Microsoft games that are doing that.
Third-party
games, they get added later on in life. But first-party Microsoft games will be on Game Pass day one. And I'm thinking, from a consumer standpoint, that is an incredible deal. Why would you pass that up? And then I realise, wait a minute, what happens if the servers go down? What happens if you stop paying?
Yes.
But they are also introducing a pay for 6 months at a time thing, so you can spend $60 and get 6 months. Which I would think is preferable than $10 a month. Just bulk buy it and then worry about it every now and again.
Right.
That's cool from a consumer standpoint, and from Microsoft's standpoint, because it's only first-party games, because they don't have many of those, admittedly.
Right.
It makes sense for them, because then they can make... They don't have to worry about making loads of games to keep selling on the first-party front. Because if you have, say, 2 million sales of $60, that is less than 10 million $10 a month sales.
Alright.
So it would be... So to have 10 million people paying $10 a month to access all those games with the promise of the new games, that is better for Microsoft because it's their own games than the $60, because the $60 also includes retailer cuts, shipping, manufacturing, all that stuff.
Yes.
So it does work out infinitely better for Microsoft.
Yes.
And of course, there is the anti-consumer part of it, where it's like, if the servers ever go down. But that's also a problem with physical games now, because patches are a thing.
Ah, yes.
So there's that balancing act. But then, an Austrian retailer came out and said, we're no longer stocking Xbox consoles.
Okay, that's weird.
Because of this announcement. And then I realised, I actually had a spawn wave on Twitter drop this on my timeline. I actually found out why. Because hardware barely makes a profit for retailers. Especially Microsoft and Sony hardware, which is always sold at a loss when it launches. Like later on in life it becomes profitable, but they make Sony and Microsoft cover those losses in manufacturing and selling the hardware in like licensing and first party software. They make it up in game sales. Retailers don't really. And when it comes to like sales of new games for retailers, just look at like GameStop, for instance. How much money do you think they make off like a new game, really?
Not very much, I would think.
Like, well, I know the developer on a £50 game, like the actual team that made the game, not the publisher, not the retailer, the actual people who made the game, per unit, make about £2.50.
Per game?
Per game, per sale.
Ooh, that's nasty. That's
of a £50 game.
That's why GameStop goes so into used games, because they make more money off.
Yeah, that's just the developer that gets £2.50 per £50 sale of a game.
Oh wait, the developer gets £2.50?
Yeah, so how much do you think the retailer gets?
Oh, the rest? No.
No.
No way.
The retailer gets probably the same amount. If
the
that.
rest go to?
Probably less.
Publisher? What's the rest go to? The publisher?
Publisher covers manufacturing costs, stuff like that.
Okay.
So it's not very good. But then the retailers also have to combine with online game sales, like on the storefronts. And people always wonder, why aren't digital games cheaper than physical games? Because they should be, admittedly. And the answer is, if they were cheaper, it would undercut retailers. And if it undercuts retailers, then the physical games would have to be the same price. And if the physical games are the same price, there would practically be no money in those. At all. Ever.
Yeah.
But then you look at like GameStop, and like, why are they always selling like merch and subscriptions and used games? It's because those are all pure profit. Like over here, Game, which is basically our GameStop, is constantly losing money and has to sell loads of used games to make it up. Because new game sales are pretty much break even. And apparently, in retail, in the US at least, the profit margins on new games are actually the best with Microsoft. Like, it's about 30% more than Nintendo and Sony for the retailer. So you have the best. It's still not good for the retailer to sell new games.
Right.
But it's the best to sell Microsoft's first-party games. Because they have the best margins for them.
Right. Okay.
But now, people could just $10 a month it and get those same games.
Right.
Without having to spend the $60 at a retailer. And the retailer's already being squeezed from digital distribution and Amazon.
Yes.
And getting physical games shipped to you. So this Austrian retailer turned around and said, we're not stocking any particular Xbox products anymore. Because at this point, there is no money in it at all. They would just be spending money to sell something that they're not making money on at this point. And they actually turned around and said, if Microsoft wants to do this alone, they can do the work alone. And from the retailer standpoint, this is kind of a death knell.
Okay.
Because unfortunately, you're not going to make... There's less incentive for people to go out and buy the games there.
Right.
Like there already was with digital distribution. Unless you're internet shit, obviously.
Yeah. I prefer physical games to the digital ones, myself.
Well, here's the thing. On the Xbox One and PS4, it doesn't matter anyway, because they all install.
Yeah, in that case, it wouldn't matter one way or the other.
That's why most of my PS4 library is digital. Because it's eating up my hard drive anyway. On Switch and 3DS, physical.
Yeah. I'm a 3DS guy, so my library is mostly physical.
Because they don't install. Well, some games do.
Some do. Most do not.
Most do not. That's the thing. On Xbox One, no.
They all do.
They all install. And it's like, okay, so it's eating up the hard drive space anyway. Why would I go out and buy a physical copy of the game when I can just download it for the same price? And then you have this question of, if I can do that, why don't I just pay $10 a month and pay for Game Pass and get loads of other games with it?
Yeah.
So I can understand the retailer's frustration, to be honest.
Yes.
That's like, what do we do?
Yes, desire is acceptable.
It's just, I think not selling any Xbox products is a bit of a leap.
Right.
But at the same time, if you're not going to make any profit whatsoever,
yeah,
why stock it?
Yeah, that's what it is. He's not going to make any profits. So it's like, you don't bother.
You don't bother.
And you basically have non-liquid assets just stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like with the Wii U stuff. Why would we stock this when it isn't moving?
Right.
Then people didn't stock it. But then you also have to think, Sony's obviously going to move down this route eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And then that kind of just leaves Nintendo, and it's going to have a knock-on effect because Nintendo does use physical media a lot. But then, the thing Microsoft is kind of forgetting is that retailers are who sells your hardware. But for Microsoft, all their games are also on PC. They clearly want to kind of move to
PC.
Xbox as a service.
Right.
With some dedicated hardware on the side, and also available on PC.
Right.
But for Sony and Nintendo, those are the guys that sell your stuff.
Yeah.
So
they couldn't really do that.
They couldn't really do that. Sony maybe eventually, because they've got PlayStation Now that they're doing stuff with.
Perhaps it's still pretty debatable.
Yeah, but the problem with that is it's streaming, so that's being hindered by internet.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, and also it's fucking expensive. And then there's Nintendo doing what Nintendo does.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, good for consumers, mostly. Bad for retailers. But it's more money for Microsoft.
Yeah.
And they're in a position where it's probably the best thing they could do.
In the Microsoft case, it makes sense.
Yeah, it's like, we don't make that many games anyway. So do you want 2 million $60 sales? Or 10 million rounds of $10 a month?
Yeah.
The answer's, I'd say the $10 a month. Okay, so the last thing, and this was just funny. Like, I was actually laughing because this is amazing. So, yesterday, Monster Hunter World and Dragon Ball FighterZ came out. Dragon Ball FighterZ, Dragon Ball Fighters.
Fighters Z, yes. Fighters.
So they both launched on the PS4 yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And of course, Dragon Ball Fighters is a fighting game, so it's got a big online presence.
Right.
And Monster Hunter World, it logs you in automatically, unless your system is not paying for PS Plus or is currently offline, because it has also a big online presence. Like online co-op, going to help people.
That makes sense.
That stuff. And of course, yesterday, those two big online focused games come out, and just as sure as 2 PM every day, PlayStation Network was down.
It's like the eShop every time Pokebank gets an update.
It's like the eShop every time a Pokemon game comes out.
Yeah, the eShop just dies because there's way too much traffic.
Like Christmas Day, I can understand because that's so many new systems logging on at once.
That was what happened. The first time it happened, it was Christmas Day.
And then last Christmas, the same thing happened on the Switch eShop. That only lasted for like a couple of hours. But earlier this week, I think on Tuesday or so, the PlayStation Network was down again.
Oh.
So it was down on Tuesday, for some reason. And then it went down at the launch of 2 big online games. And it's just like, how? Why?
Guys.
Because lately it has been relatively okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's had the scheduled maintenance periods, it's done all that kind of stuff. But this past week, it has just shat the bed. Does it when 2 big online games launch?
My dear.
And it apparently is back up and running now. But a round of applause for Sony's foresight. And the hilarious part is, last year they increased the price for PlayStation Plus.
Wow.
And ever since then, it's kind of been spottier than it has been before in recent years. You know, hopefully we'll never get the epic outage of 2011 again. Where it was hacked and credit card details of millions of people were stolen and it was down for like 3 weeks.
That was...
You know, but... the old joke, we can't give you the ability to change your PSN names if there's no PlayStation Network.
Roll safe.
But yeah, the PlayStation Network was down. Which, you know, the only reason it's notable is because with the PlayStation Network, it feels like something... it's not actually as frequent as you think it is, but it's always frequent enough to where you can clearly remember the last time it happened. And it doesn't help there was also the mega outage in 2011.
Right.
You know, so that's always going to be there. But then every few months, there is an outage, and you can always remember when the last one happened. It's just funny. I couldn't help but giggle, and it's like, round of applause for the guys who just promoted the guy who made PlayStation Network and PlayStation View and PlayStation Now to run the PlayStation business. And here's your work presented.
Surprise.
It's a flaming bag of potatoes.
Oh gosh. You're right.
It's only €60 a year. $60 a year, £50 a year. But, you know, Nintendo's online network, you know, doesn't die unless something massive releases or Christmas Day happens, which is the same with just about every network, to be honest with you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Microsoft's is pretty much fine, which I chose because that was the original one you had to pay for. And Sony's wants €60, $60, £50 a year, and it still goes down on relative frequent basis. And then you've got Steam, which is free, but each game has its own network anyway.
Right, yeah.
And then you've got Nintendo's, which wants £20 a month, $20 a year. £20 a year, €20 a year. And it's free right now. We still don't know when that's launching. To be honest, I don't think it is at this point. I think they're just going to keep it free. And it's like, well, how come all these don't have like fairly frequent down periods, but Sony's does? And then I remembered that Sony's network was built in like 2006, and it hasn't really changed outside of adding more systems, which is probably why. But it's not good. You know, that'd be like if Splatoon 2 launched and suddenly the network wasn't working, or if Halo 5 launched and the Xbox Live was down.
That'd be a trip.
You know, here comes Dragon Ball and Monster Hunter. Oh, network's down. How convenient.
Yes. Quite.
Yeah, that's pretty much all that happened this week. You know, along with my little schadenfreude at the hilarity of PlayStation Network being down. Apparently Sony's patented a new PlayStation Move-like controller, which, I mean, cool, I guess.
Right, yes, okay.
That's probably for VR in the future. Because it'll be better than PlayStation Move, because that was made in 2009. South Park: The Stick of Truth is getting a release on Xbox One and PS4 in February. That's nice.
Alright. You like that game? All 3 of them?
2 of them.
2 of them, right? Yes. I was being generous.
Anything else happen? Pokemon Crystal came out.
Yes, it did.
Epic
Still
Games is
haven't
apparently interested in bringing Fortnite to the Nintendo Switch.
Fortnite is. You told me this.
Epic Games is Battle Royale game.
Right.
Basically a competitor to PUBG.
Hmm.
And of course it runs on Unreal Engine 4, and it's made by the people who made the engine. It would probably run on Switch.
Yep.
Lots of indie games coming to the Switch. Nintendo Powers had a second podcast. Miitomo's dying.
You already went over this. Yes.
Yeah, it's just... Yeah, so not a lot happened, to be blunt. Oh, and Castlevania is getting a second Netflix series.
What happened to the first one? Is it finished?
Yeah, finished. It was only 4 episodes.
Oh. Oh.
But there's going to be 8 episodes this summer.
Okay, so it's the next season.
Yeah.
Basically.
So yeah, that's pretty much all that happened in the world, you know. Microsoft pissed off a retailer, Sony did Sony stuff, and Nintendo did Nintendo stuff. Mm-hmm. And people are arguing over whether or not we're going to get a Mario Kart game specifically for the Switch.
No.
No, probably not. Because, you know, Mario Kart 8. Ah, that was good. Yeah, hopefully something interesting happens next week so we have more to talk about.
Hopefully.
Well, we will, because Nintendo's going to have their earnings reports. So,
Better.
you know, we can talk about that. And I assume EA is going to do something stupid. So, you know, it's that time of the month again. When's EA going to put their foot in it?